You should be giving me this option where I have to choose between Jalen Rager and Zach Pascal. They need an upgrade. Is Devante Parker an upgrade? Yes, he's an upgrade. Everybody's an upgrade.
This is the Mac and Mac Show. I'm Birds 365. John McMullen and Jody McDonald. It was fun to have a triple Mac attack. Getting my bud Glenn Mac now in here, the host of the Eagles pregame show. He's probably about 140 some odd days away from hosting an Eagle pregame show on a preseason game for the Eagles. We're 172 days from the opening Sunday of the NFL year.
It's coming up on us, Jody. Flying by.
172. No, we got to get into double digits before I really start to get excited. We're closer to 200 than we are.
You got to transition from 100 to 99. By the way, you brought up that term transition before the break, and you're right. Hooey. All of a sudden the Eagles are trendsetters again. Atlanta is down there. Arthur Smith transition. They don't want to use it. The Eagles are trendsetters, baby. That's the new word, transition base.
But was that to stay away from the phrase rebuild?
Rebuild, yes. And our buddy D. Orlando Ledbetter, who's covered the Falcons for years, did what we do, called it out right away. That's, you know what? It's a rebuild. But it's now transition.
And to give the Eagles credit, they rebuilt, they transitioned. Call it what you want.
Different ways. Probably the better is. I don't think you have to. I don't have to. I say it all the time. And the NFL is different than the NBA. You don't have to tear everything down. You can rebuild very, very quickly
on the fly. And they ended up winning enough games to get them into the postseason. All right. J-Mac, I hate to do this, go back to the wide receiver position. I feel like we beat it over the head on a daily basis, but it's pretty damn important when the whole Tyreek Hill thing came down yesterday, almost to the Jets, ends up with the Dolphins. Eagles could have been, should have been involved, probably weren't much. We have faith that Howie checks in on everything, but I'm getting a little perturbed with checking in and not getting anything done. It's really nice to check in. It's really nice to have an aggressive mindset, unless you can
Well, we're not ready for Tyreek Hill. We're not ready, Jody.
Stop it.
You got to wait. You got to wait for the perfect time and then get the perfect player. Yeah, that's going to happen.
But the Dolphins who did not make the playoffs last year and have a former Alabama quarterback who some people question, but it's okay for them, but not for the Eagles. I know where you're going. But let's play the domino effect game here. If the Dolphins add Tyreek Hill, they've already got Jalen Waddle, their rookie draft pick, who actually put up better numbers than Devante Smith did last year. Not by much, very similar year, but slightly better numbers than Smith. They went slightly ahead of Smith in the draft. They went out and signed a guy who I really had interest in for the Eagles, Cedric Wilson, who was the Cowboys' number 4 last year. But when needed, when pushed upon, when he had to step up, he had big games. That's why when you judge his overall numbers, you go, whoa. But how many snaps did he get? And how many times was he even in the mix as one of the reads on a play? And he made plays for them. And I thought he was a nice potential free agent guy to grab. The Dolphins ended up getting him for 3 years and $22 million. So they just brought the guy in, so they're going to believe he's going to be a contributor for them. It kind of leaves Devante Parker out in the cold. Veteran guy, been with the Dolphins for years, got a second contract. He's now, at least by my calculations, 4th choice of the Dolphin wide receivers. He's not making a lot of money. They gave him a pretty big signing bonus, so his cap number is going to be under $6 million for each of the next 2 years. And you do have him for 2 more years. Should the Eagles have interest in a guy like Devante Parker, whose numbers have scaled back over the last couple of years? I have to be honest and say I think he's a declining player, but is he still non-declined enough that the Eagles should have interest in him? Because, yes, I think he comes here and he slots in as your number 2 wide receiver.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, this is always going to be at this point, Jody. I mean, I was getting in this yesterday because I got in trouble for my Rager tweet and people misconstruing it, as I said. Um, you shouldn't be giving me this option where I have to choose between Jalen Rager and Zach Pascal. They need an upgrade. Is Devante Parker an upgrade? Yes, he's an upgrade. Everybody's an upgrade. One of the things Glenn Macnow just talked about is the difference in expectations, right? We're talking about what's a good season. He wants them to win the division and win a playoff game. Remember last year, nobody's thinking this team's making the playoffs. We were on the more optimistic side. You and I at 8 wins, somewhere and very close. They made it up to 9 wins. You can say bad schedule, blah, blah, blah. What this city's been so beaten down by the lack of receivers. Remember, they went through 2 calendar years in this era, in this modern era of the NFL, without a wide receiver that had 500 yards receiving.
Right.
Think about that, Jody. They think 916, and Devontae Smith's a hell of a player. They think that's great. It's not great. He's a great player, but there's different reasons, and I put Devontae aside. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because I get down to Quez Watkins. They think this kid's a wide receiver, too. He's not a wide receiver, too. He's probably a 4 on most teams, at best a 3 on the bad teams. So let's look at it. You just mentioned Cedric Wilson. The Dallas Cowboys lost Cedric Wilson and Amari Cooper. They still have CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, James Washington, Noah Brown. And they lost 2 pretty good receivers. If you look at the New York Giants, who stink, and they have Kenny Galladay. Now, granted, you can say he had a terrible year. He'd come in here and be wide receiver 2 right away. They drafted Kadarius Toney. They still have Sterling Shepard. They still have Darius Slayton. And they stink. The Washington football team, and I'm only going this division, Jody, has Terry McLaurin, who we all know is a heck of a player. Cam Sims. They have Adam Humphries as a slot receiver. I think he's still a free agent, but we'll see how that works. They have Curtis Samuel coming back off an injury. They drafted that kid from North Carolina in the 3rd round last year, Diami Brown. They have Antonio Gandy Golden. They have some talent. Again, not a good team at wide receiver by any stretch of the imagination. Significantly better than Philadelphia at the position.
Yeah,
overall.
I wouldn't go there with the Redskins.
Overall, I'm saying, again, I'm putting with the depth, I'm putting Devontae Smith aside.
But then you got to put Samuel aside with the Redskins. If you're going to take the number 1 guy and put him aside, that's okay.
No, I meant I'm not putting him aside as I'm not counting him. I'm putting him aside because I'm not criticizing him is what I meant, because he's a really good receiver. I'm criticizing everybody else is what I'm trying to say. Obviously, could have said it better. So I go back to last year, and I remember going into Detroit, traveling to Detroit, and I said, wow, I'm looking at their depth chart, and I say, this is the only team in the NFL that has worse receivers than the Eagles. This is it. This is the only team in the NFL. And now I look up the Detroit Lions today. They got DJ Chark. They got Josh Reynolds. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got Khalif Raymond. Again, pretty bad compared to the rest of the league. Is it better overall than the Eagles? It might be. I don't know, but it's close.
If DJ Chark comes back and is healthy, it might actually be better.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad. And I did the quick check just to go by the numbers. Devontae Smith with his 900 and change yards. How many wide receivers in the league caught more yards? And this is our guy. This is what we're putting forth. This is our number 1, numero uno. This is our star. And he is just a rookie, so we expect more. But he did do what he did this year. How many wide receivers had more yards than him last year? 26.
26.
He was 27. No, 25. because he finished 29th in receiving yards. There were 3 tight ends, so that's kind of a different story. 25 receivers had more yards than him, and we're going to get excited because our number 1 is 25th out of all wide receivers. 31 other teams. We're 25th, and that's our number 1. And that's what we're putting our proud foot forward with. He's the guy that we're good with. And he's really not as good as other teams' number 1s.
Yeah, we should be good with it. I have no issues with Devante Smith. I think if we were in a different situation, he'd probably be up at 12, 1,300 if he's healthy, and he was healthy last year for the most part. He'd be up in that range in a different type of offense. So I don't have any problems with Devante Smith. I got a lot of problems with everybody else, including Quez Watkins. And by the way, that's not saying I have no issues with Quez Watkins being a part of this team. I think there's still a lot of room for growth and becoming a better player. But for everyone that says we're going to pencil him as wide receiver 2, period. I mean, that's absurd. You got to get better than that. If he grows and he gets better, that's fine. That's great. That's gravy. But man, you got to have we've been talking about it for months. You got to have a legitimate second wide receiver. And that's the only place I depend the Eagles. The Eagles know that. That's why I was telling Glenn, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Calvin Ridley, Alvin Robinson, on and on and on. They're trying to get that wide receiver 2. They haven't been able to do it. If they stop and Zach Pascal's got to play significant snaps, that's a flipping disaster, Jody. That is a disaster. You are 32nd in a 32-team league at that position with Devante Smith. I truly believe that.
If they're not 32nd, they're damn close. And it seemed to me like you're giving the Eagles a little bit more credit for trying, for acknowledging, for
I think they know. I don't think it's credit. I think they know they need an upgrade. But then, on the second hand, the spin of trying to spin Zach Pascal as anything more than he is absurd. Yeah. And by the way, Zach Pascal's getting introduced today at the NovaCare complex, which, I hope he doesn't read Twitter because he's not going to like me right away.
You and me both. But giving the Eagles credit for knowing that they need to upgrade the wide receiver is kind of like a kid taking his time and being thoughtful on his test. And then he hands it in, and the teacher hands it back to him, and he got a 47. But you took your time. You were contemplative about the fact that you didn't quite know the answer. You put in a lot of work. No, the bottom line is the answer, and the answer is the Eagles haven't upgraded wide receiver yet, not with the addition of Zach Pascal. John McMullen, Jody McDonald, your Mac, Birds 365, guys. Oh, we got less than an hour to play, but we'll make the most of it. Talking Birds here.